So welcome to our fishbowl session today. I'm very happy to have today here Lindsay Scott and Gaurang Vora, one of our top influencers that we have at this moment around the world, from our top 50. And I'm very happy to share with you some ideas from Lindsay and some ideas from Gaurang. And I'm pretty sure that you will be enlightened. And not to make it too long, Lindsay, let's start. And maybe you can start to share with us what do you think about developing the PMO? What is this for you?
Say again, sorry, I just missed that completely.
Developing the PMO. What is this for you? What means that for you?
What, the PMO?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, it kind of threw me a bit because I don't think anybody's actually asked me a question so basic and about the PMO, because normally we get into talking about so many different facets of PMO. But what do I think about PMO itself? Well, it's fantastic. It's completely biased because it's an area that I based most of my career on, having worked in PMO way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then went into doing things like PMO flash mob and then doing training courses and then running a training company around it and things like that. What I find fascinating about it is that over that time it has grown and it's expanded and it's changed and it's flexed and it still fascinates a lot because in some respects it's more than project management. When we talk to project managers, they're very much focused on delivery, but with PMO it has the ability to go way beyond, not just project and program management and portfolio management, but now allows us to think wider than that, in terms of where we are in the business and the strategic side of what a business is doing around change. We get involved a little bit more about that. More recently, we've been looking at different ways in terms of automation in business, which again is something else that PMOs are starting to get interested in. So for me, PMO is, at its very simplest, is a group of people that are there to help projects, there to help organizations deliver change more successfully. And I really like the simplicity of it because change doesn't just happen through projects and programs and portfolios anymore. There's lots of people within a business that are actually, getting involved in change. So yeah, it sounds like a simple strapline. We're there to help change be delivered successfully, but behind it, so much stuff that goes into that.
Great. So, and what is your way? What is your way to assist here, to influence, to get better in our profession in this PMO world?
In terms of my influence has come from when I was doing the job back then. There wasn't much support within the business. In fact, not many people within our business actually understood what a PMO could do or might do. And I think back then, and to be fair, that might be over 20 years ago, but I still think it's the same way today for a lot of big people that are working in PMO are still finding themselves in a position where they're feeling their way a lot of the time. A PMO traditionally, especially in the UK, grows out from one or two people. So it's never a case of, let's have a PMO and let's have lots of people working within it. It normally comes from one or two people. And the problem is with that is that you never really meet people who are doing a similar position to you within your business because there's only one or two of you there. So back then, I got interested in, I want to meet other people that do this job because you must be out there, because we know that project managers exist and there must be other people that are supporting project managers. So I just, at that time, and what has naturally expanded is over time, is that yes, they do exist. Yes, they are out there. But you've got to go out there and find them and help them connect to each other, which is, I suppose, what I've dedicated the last I don't know, probably about 15 years. It sounds really old. 15 years in just bringing people together and allowing them to just have a space really to talk to people and to connect with each other. And my job really in all of that is just finding different ways for them to be able to communicate better. I think if you put naturally a room of people into a room together, you wouldn't necessarily get good productive conversation. And I feel like my job's always been to, okay, well, we know that what I'm hearing from people, when I have conversations with different PMO people from various different backgrounds, that I'm hearing the same stories from different organizations, different industry sectors, but the stories are the same. And I think what I then tend to do is, well, let's talk about this, because it's obviously, it's a bugbear for a lot of people. So take an example that always comes up, which is resource management. Everybody has a problem with it. So what better than to get a room of PMO people together and say, look, we're all here together. We're all struggling with resource management. However, somebody over here will be doing X and think, well, that's a brilliant idea. So I could combine that with what I'm doing back in the business. And actually all I've ever done is just curate. I'm a curator. That's all I do, is just bring people together, sometimes come up with a few weird and wonderful ways of getting people to talk and to do exercises together or workshops or whatever else. But ultimately, it's the people that are doing the job in PMO that they have got the answers. It's just that you've got to find what question to ask them in order to get that stuff out of them. And then you sharing it around. And that's all we've ever done. So with PMO Flash Mob, it was all about, well, if we learn stuff from each other, well, can we not just create something that allows us to share that wider? So, the website's full of stuff that we've learned. And it's not about being prescriptive. I think that's the other thing I've learned about PMO, is that there isn't a one size fits all. There isn't one approach or method, or you couldn't pick up a book that says, here's how to be a PMO practitioner. I think it is about being able to give people choices and options and think, yes, that resonates with my business and that resonates with a particular challenge that I've got. And you're never going to find the solution in one document or one book. It's always going to be bits and pieces from everywhere. And what I've found over the years is that it doesn't matter if you're quite new to PMO or the most experienced person in the room. You will always walk away learning something. And what's lovely about that is that then people feel like I want to contribute because I took something away and I really enjoyed you putting that session on. So let me come back and do another session for you and I talk about my experiences or whatever else, So there we go. And I think, the title influence is an interesting one for me because I see myself more as a curator than I do an influencer, but
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's quite the same what I have experienced in the past. That you're always leaving the room and you're learning something, and that's really, really, really good. If I might ask you, what do you think are the key skills that a PMO has to learn, or has to have, or has to develop?
Ooh, where do we start? Because it's like I was saying before, in that there is no, I don't believe it's as easy as training to be a project manager, right? And I might get shot down for this, which is fine. It's that a PMO has to have so many different facets. A project manager, let's just dial it down. A project manager manages the project team, and they're there to produce something. The PMO is there to support that project manager, the project team, or also the program teams, also the senior exec and the project sponsors. Oh, and then we also need to know stuff like the business analysis side, the business case side of it. And we also need to know as much as a project manager in terms of how to plan a project, how to, all those kind of, the tools and techniques that you learn as a project manager. But then we need to be able to roll that up We need to be able to do that at program level. We need to do that at portfolio level. We have to have one eye on, well, actually, the way that we deliver projects at the moment is quite slow, it's archaic, but, let's have a look at this agile thing. That might be good, but it's up to the PMO all the time to be one eye scanning the horizon, but also doing the technical part of the job and also bringing people along with them. I've always said that when I meet PMO people, regardless of how where they are in their career, there's always been two really basic things that makes me think that they will do okay, that they're in the right job. And one, it's an organisation thing, that you're great at organising and you can keep the plates spinning because there's so much stuff going on. And the second bit, and I know we say this about project managers, but it is the communication side of it. And it is not just down to a team like a project manager does or up to a project sponsor. We have to do it within that project and change environment as well as to the wider organisation, because we have one eye on the business as usual stuff as well. So, and it's those two things. And I think you can tell when you meet somebody for the first time whether they are good at their PMO role or not by the way that they communicate and the way that they get organised. And at its very basics. And we can put lots of other skills on top of that, but at its very basic, it is those two. And I think especially what's happened over the last, I'd say probably over the last 10 years, where communication-wise, now it requires the ability to bring on senior execs and influence, because we've got into the realms of strategic decision making and portfolio management, and those things at the higher level of an organization. And to be able to do those things, you have got to be able to be a great relationship builder. And by the way, you do that because of communication skills. The role has changed quite a lot from being, the controlling PMO. Mm-hmm. In my day, it came out of that you were there as a PMO to keep projects in check, that they were delivering what they said they were going to deliver according to time, cost, and quality. Now the role is a lot more about, it's influencing. It is about how aiding decision making for the senior managers. It's a big switch from 1 minute we're saying don't do this and keep it all under control to the next thing we want you to take our word for it, that we've done the analysis, we've done the reporting, we're using things like AI and automation to help us to give you better information for you to make decisions. It's miles apart, it's really interesting. But I think what we still see, and I certainly see it in the UK, is that latter type of PMO, that portfolio one, the one where you're really aiding decision making, there's not many of them. We're still a lot more of the controlling type PMO. So I don't know if that's your experiences, but that's definitely what we see a lot here, is that we've still got a long way to go. And I think that's probably partially due to the PMOs have come from that, have grown up out of being a control PMO, and we've still got a lot of growing up to do in order to be that more strategic one. And I know that you're going to be talking a little bit more about that as well, Gaurang, in your experiences around the more strategic direction that PMOs are going in.
So you say communication is a key that you have to master as a PMO. Then you say that there is a change, that you are not anymore the one who is checking the project plan, the critical paths, the milestones, but you have to influence more the surroundings to help them to take decision and to see how you can use new technologies like AI to make the job for all the stakeholders better and to deliver better decision papers. Mm-hmm. So more strategic in this way, if I understood you on the right way. Yeah. So and I understood you that we are on the path to go there, and the PMOs, because I understood that you said the majority of the PMOs are still more in the controlling and quality, and now they have to develop to the next step.
Yeah, I think what will happen and I was straying into the thinking about where the PMO might be going in the future. But if you do look at, automation, AI, machine learning, all these kind of technologies that will eventually come through. I mean, I know we're nowhere near yet there, but if you look at that, and if you're interested in those topic areas, and you look at that, you can see how the role of the PMO can be streamlined, because actually a lot of the reporting elements and the checking elements can be done by AI when the tech's there, which frees us up as professionals. We're change professionals just like anybody else. It just means that our role will change, and our role will change into, well, what are the machines spitting out at us? What are they telling us? And it's up to us as the human part of it to take that and to rationalize it. And I think that's where our role will go. We will no longer be buried under spreadsheets. We will be seeing information, data and information. And our role will be to use all our past experiences working in projects and programs and portfolios to interpret that and, provide our business leaders with the kind of insights they need to make the right decisions about whether that might be to can a project, to cancel a project, or to reprioritize the portfolio, which we've seen a lot going on over the last 7 months as the world's been in the pandemic. It's those kind of value services for the PMO where we will be really focusing, but we're not there yet because the technology is not there. Could be there, but I think from an organizational point of view, the investment's not there yet. It's going to be interesting because I think there's going to be some PMO practitioners that are reluctant to go down that route, in which case they might be ready to move on to pastures new. But I do think there will be a change in the way that the PMO role will exist. There's going to be a lot more of the data analysis side of it coming in, I think, which is a good thing. I've always said that the PMO should be made up of lots of different types of individuals, and at the moment within a PMO there's not many that have a true data analysis data analyst position within there, and they're going to have to look at that if they want to be part of a potential revolution. Evolution should it be? Maybe probably evolution rather than revolution. But I think and that's about the PMO doing its own resource management, isn't it, in terms of what skills do we need now versus what do we need in the future. So yeah, it's interesting. This is why, come back to your first question about why PMO, because you get to talk about things like this. Is a project manager having conversations now about automation and stuff? Perhaps not, unless they're particularly interested in tech. But I don't think they're having the conversation yet about how AI might affect projects for the better. Whereas I know that the PMO are already, thinking about it, because they're naturally, I've found anyway, from the people who come to flash mobs, that they're curious. They're curious about where business might be going and therefore how change might be happening and things like that, And I think, curiosity, not a skill, but I think if it was, it should be there. It should be a behavior that you're keen to look at different avenues and different aspects and see what you can use in PMO. Just be curious about different things, I think. So yeah.
Lindsay, I can really feel how you're pushing this change, this evolution, and it's awesome. Thank you. And I think it's really interesting, Gaurang, if I may involve you, because Gaurang is talking about the future of the PMO, and we had a very insightful talk a few days before, and I want to encourage you just to share your thoughts about this future PMO that you have in your thoughts, Gaurang, and we will definitely see that we have some overlapping skills and things. And let's talk about it. Let's jump in, Gaurang. I'm happy to hear from you. What do you think, and what is your influencing?
All right. Okay. So we're talking about future PMO, and I think what Lindsay said is absolutely correct. It's like, people are a little afraid about saying AI, ML coming into play, and there would be loss of jobs, especially for PMOs, is because in terms of PMOs, they try and put in governance. They try and look in terms of saying that the projects are on schedule, on cost, right? And that fear is in, right? But I feel, and I strongly feel that AI and ML and those technologies coming in would absolutely enable the PMOs to go more on a strategic level, where instead of where they are on the tactical level as of now. So the AI and ML would always help in terms of um, giving out, saying, oh no, if this is what is going to happen, then this scenario might happen, or if this is the data which I have, then this scenario might happen. And how do you really do the risk management? How do you really mitigate those kind of areas? Is what again a PMO would always have to think through and then work along. The second thing I believe is it's all about humans right now. We I mean there's a lot of shift from waterfall to agile, and we all talk about human, we all talk about collaboration, we talk about trust, and probably that is what machines or technologies might not be able to give us, right? They can give us good data, they can give us good trends, they can help us in terms of telling us, saying that yes, this might happen or that might happen, but actually that human factor or the human feel and touch, um, those technologies or machines would not be able to give us. And that's where I feel it's more for a PMO leader to really move ahead in looking at strategical ways, then more coming on to a tactical level now. So the future is going to shift in that way, and that's what I believe. So I was reading a research of 2019, and it's that's from PMO Solutions, and it says the percentage of enterprise business using PMOs has risen from 48% in 2000 to 85% in 2016, and 30% of the companies without PMO plan to implement one in next year, which is 2020. Right. So there's still a lot which PMOs can do, can enable the business, can bring in more business value, and that's where I feel they would really move to that strategic level rather than those tactical level, which they are currently doing. So yeah,
Mm.
that's what I feel in.
And what is exactly this strategic level you're talking about? What do you think that this change? What is the destination of this change?
So when I talk about strategic and tactical levels, basically now there would be a shift in terms of identifying long-term or overall aims and interests of the organization, basically the long-term strategy of the organization, uh, and how do you map those strategies, right? It is like a longer roadmap to be achieved. And when I talk about tactical, it is basically showing adroit planning, right? You will have to be very clever and skillful in your planning as to how do I reach to that particular aim or goal, right? And it's all about aiming at an end beyond the immediate action, right? So that's tactical. So which we all PMOs do as of now currently, saying that, oh okay, this is my company or an organization goal, and how do I reach in shorter sprints or in different pieces, is what I would put in my tactics to reach there and work ahead on it. While when I say strategic, it is more about, this is the aim we want to reach. Now, how do I roadmap that? How do I really see and build that roadmap in terms of achieving that particular aim? And now, PMOs will have to get to rise to that level and start thinking of that, uh, having different roadmaps or different plans in mind, and say, okay, I would reach it like this, or if not, then I can do this, right? And probably the execution is what I was talking as a tactical one, but uh, road mapping it is what I spoke as a strategic level, and is what the future is going to be all about.
Thank you for clarifying this. And I know that you just was involved in a change where you have helped to go from Waterfall to Agile. Maybe you can give us some insight about your experience in this change and how this influenced you to get an influencer.
All right, that's a real good question, Angelos. Yeah, and this is very near to me, is because I I had been working a lot in Waterfall, and had been working in PMOs for companies which were into application development, which were into system integration and all. And we really had this set thing, right? We have this approach saying, oh, I do a plan first, then I do a prototype, and then I do actual build, and then I test, and then I release. And that used to take a longer time frame, I would say, right? And it was really you had step by step, while you would have a change request coming in, and PMO and stakeholders coming in together, looking at those change requests, approve it or reject it, and do things. So that's where the clients were losing in terms of saying that, say for example, 6 or 8 months before, if they said that I want to develop this feature in my application, 8 months down the line, that feature might go obsolete, because there's a lot of dynamic environment changes which are happening currently, culture changes which are happening currently, and that's where there was a need to have something faster go-to-market strategies and those kind of things. So we had this waterfall approach with our company, and the PMs used to plan out things, chalk out plans, release plans, and the team used to work on that and follow. And then the client used to come back to us and tell us, oh, no, now I don't need this, now I need this. And then you have to go back to your change control board and get it approved. You have to have additional funding going on, and there's a whole process which you follow there, right? So that's where we started thinking, saying that how do we really make the experience of the client better, and also go to the market faster, so that whatever the clients need, they would get it on time, and it would generate value for the clients and for the organization also. And that's where we thought about shifting from Waterfall to Scrum. And that's been a quite great journey with me. So we had whole of our colleagues having that Waterfall mindset, and we all know with Agile there is a lot of mindset shift, there's a lot of culture shift which happens, where I could say Waterfall is kind of a command and control. You would have Agile, which is more decentralized kind of a thing, which is more saying, trust in the team and let them get going, and then you would have better results. So basically we first found out saying that go to market is one of our challenge, and the second one was, how do we make our clients happier? So we thought we would go on Scrum, and we started building in presentations to present it to our senior leadership team, saying, hey, you know what, these are the two things which we have, these are the two challenges which we see as an organization, and this could be the solution to it. And then we started presenting them with how do we do it, what do we do it, and how do we take next steps to get on this journey. Now, basically, the first and the foremost question which we had was saying, how are you going to map the roles which are there with Waterfall, with Agile? And that's a totally different and a distinct thing, right, as of now, because Waterfall is quite structured. And when I say structured, it is like the project manager driving in, the PMO setting in the standards, and the team working in those conjunctions and alignments. Now with Scrum, there is a lot of decentralization of power. There is a lot of trust building activities which has to happen. The team has to experiment things first, and basically the roles you have with Scrum or Agile is quite different than the roles which you have with Waterfall. And that was the first question where the senior leadership asked, how are you going to do that? Because because it seems like when you come to Agile or Scrum, that would be listening down of your roles with whatever currently we have. And we did not map it one-to-one, but we just made them understand, saying that, actually we can train our project managers to become Scrum Masters. Now that's going to be a bigger mindset change, but that's going to benefit us with whatever two challenges we are looking for. Now that was one. Second is, we told them, saying that instead of the project manager or the stakeholders and the PMO controlling the requirements and things and stuff, let us have a product owner who can really prioritize the enhancements, the stories, and get going. So that's how we started getting confidence of our senior leadership. Then we went on to the next level, where we found out some change champions for us, saying that who were very, very for the change. And we started talking to them, letting them know how it is, how it would be beneficial, how we all as an organization will grow. And post that, we did so. My company is in US, and our whole production center is in Mumbai. And then we have a leadership team here also in Mumbai. So then we made presentations to them to let them know how it works, and then with the whole team. So slowly, presenting them, finding out the change champions, coaching the colleagues in terms of saying that this is how we can shift. That was where we finally changed our way of working from Waterfall to Scrum in 2016. And from 2016, we have been really having real good times. We could measure a lot of business value coming in. We could give in features to our clients on time, where they said, oh yeah, you know what, this is great, now we can use this and we can move forward. And there was a shift in the mindset and the culture also with the team. So
you described a very clear change path that you was following, and you were struggling a lot with this mindset and cultural change. Or was it from the beginning accepted from the senior management and from all the employees that, now we are all going to Scrum and it's a better world and everything will be shiny? Or can you share with us your experience here, and then go over to how this brings you to influence others to in the PMO area?
Right. So no, we definitely had a lot of pushback in terms of getting on the Scrum and Agile journey. People were not ready. In fact, the senior leadership were not ready to accept that. And then we had to find out lot of gaining their confidence, to find out a lot of similarization between why Waterfall would not work in our situation and why Scrum or Agile would work in our situation. Saying, look, it takes longer time with this approach, and the clients, by the time we reach there and we release it, the clients might not need it. and they would come back and give us a change, and then we go back to a change request and we do it. So it was kind of, giving them examples or giving them specific calculations in terms of saying that, oh, this is how it's going to work here, and this is how I'm going to spend this budget here, and this is how much time it is going to take. So that was a real difficult path to steer through and come ahead. And it was not only with the senior leadership, but it was also with the team itself, is because the team is very tuned to work in that waterfall way of working, saying that, oh yeah, there are SMEs, there are architects, and there are developers, senior developers, junior developers, and people. So each would have their own roles and responsibilities laid down. And then when you come with Scrum, it is like, I need to build a cross-functional team. I cannot have silos built in. So one of the bigger challenge we had was we had different verticals. We had a development team separate, we had QA team separate, we had infrastructure team separate, and we had information security team separate. So all were separate verticals led by separate vertical leads. And now I have to build a cross-functional team, and I have to have members from each of this team coming in together and working on a particular epic or capability. And that is where we said, okay, now let us try and find out how we can align all of this verticals together in one team and move ahead. So what we did was we tried to gel in the development team and the QA all together as one team, and then have the infrastructure and the NetOps team support them from outside, even if still it is a separate vertical, but support them from outside in terms of whenever they need it, they would have colleagues available, book their time slots, and come in. Now that is how we traverse to this journey. And if you really ask me how I have influenced, it's so when I started, I thought it's a nightmare. It really wouldn't work, is because the push was so hard, saying that no, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. So everything, when you come up with saying that the product owner will have to prioritize and give the stories or enhancement to the team to work on, and said, no, that's not going to happen, because the business knows what's the priority is. I cannot have the product owner define what the priority is. And so every place, and that is where I thought, the product owners taking that role of prioritizing things, the team taking the role of saying, oh yeah, technically this is how it's going to be possible. So I felt that is where I can really influence in terms of coaching them, training them, saying this is how it is going to happen, and this is where we are going to get a lot of benefits out of it, and run a kind of POC. So when we started, we just started with a smaller team, saying that, okay, let's pick this one feature, have this cross-functional team working, build it, and then move forward. So that's how we started, and that's where I started influencing with that smaller team. To now we have got about 10 to 11 Scrum teams working together, and we have got 9 products which are
and you're doing this all out of your PMO role, right?
Yes. So basically, when we started Scrum, we officially did not mention it as a PMO.
Yeah.
But we have a small group which would try and bring in those processes, those standards, would bring in those governance. We do Scrum or Scrums. So that's where we bring in those governance and things place. And almost 2 years back, we scaled our Agile, we scaled our Scrum. So we implemented Essential Safe, and now we have a program layer which oversees all of this, all of the 9 to 10 teams working together. How do you really maintain those dependencies, get those dependencies out, make priorities for each of the teams for your cross team dependencies, and then move off those enhancements and epics faster, and get to the market. So that's how, and that was our main challenge. Again, post we implemented Scrum, saying each team had their individual priorities going on, because we had different Scrum Masters, we had different product owners, we had different teams. And when there is this bigger thing coming in, it would make it difficult, as in the dependency. So that's where we implemented Essential Safe. And again, that was an influencing way which I or the group did it to cut down the dependencies and get it going.
Exciting practical view how the PMO is a change enabler and driving the future. That what Lindsay was saying in the beginning, that we are on a change path. We are going more from quality and timekeeper more to go to all the stakeholders and communicate proper and help the company to get their benefits. And that's really great, Lindsay and Gaurang, that I'm hearing here, because this is exactly why we are here. And I can tell you from my experience, I was leading a huge organization with a very huge PMO, and this is exactly the way where we are going. We are going to change the role of the PMO lead. We are going to change to go into developing and preparing better all the numbers, more business intelligence, more to prepare decision papers and to drive the change for the organization. So splendid. So Lindsay, do you have to add something more? And Gaurang, do we have something to give to our audience as maybe for them what they can do in their current position, in their job, to be better and to shape the future together with us and with the community for their companies?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we are regular doing, obviously with Flashmob, is bringing the different subject areas to prominence. So this is the latest one. So we're doing about there's the AI bit. So every year we're touching on a theme and wanting people to become more curious, because there is so many different facets of PMO, and you can quite happily have a career, just by doing the same things you're doing day in, day out, and working for similar organizations throughout your career. Or you might be somebody that's just a little bit more curious, that is looking for something else with each role that I go for throughout my career, that I'm looking for. When I make that change, I do want something that's going to challenge me and take me a little bit further. And I think, one of the things we've always said is that the people that come to flash mobs and things, it is because they're curious about a subject. So they're hearing something in the workplace. So for last week, for example, and just as Gaurang was talking then, that one of the things we did last week was about scaled agile, because we've been doing exactly the journey you've been on. There's been many PMO practitioners that have been on a very similar journey. And now the latest thing is, well, how are we going to scale that? So like you say, for program management level, but also at the portfolio level. So for those people, they're coming along because they are curious. I know that I'm going to have to learn something about this particular area. And I don't quite know how that might manifest itself in my PMO today. But if that's the way that the world's going, I want to make sure that I'm getting there ahead of the curve rather than lagging behind. So, and that comes by, being keeping your eye on your career within PMO, I think, it is because there are many different ways it could be going. And the way that when I talk to many different PMO people, they don't necessarily stay within the field either. It's like, well, where are you going next? Because for some, they've gone down the BA route. A good grounding in PMO has helped them forge a career in that respect. Obviously, some into the delivery side of going down the project manager route. Some people leaving it all together and going into different business areas. And I think that's what's great about PMO. It gives you quite a lot of business skills alongside your delivery stuff as well. And I think that when you were talking, Gaurang, about your particular journey, the thing that popped up into my head is change management. There's a lot of influencing in getting people to go through cultural change stuff. That's like, okay, we're not doing enough around change management. What can the PMO be doing around not only increasing their own change management skills, but also providing a better environment within their organization for change management tools, techniques, approaches, all that kind of stuff. That's how my head works. And I think that's how a lot of people that are really into their PMO career also see it. They see, today I'm learning, about, Power BI. I've not touched it before, but everybody's going on about it. I'm going to have a bit of a play about it and see what's what. But they don't just stop there. They are then wanting to learn a little bit more about it. But more importantly, they want everybody else to come with them. So they come back into their PMO and they say, look, guys, I've been messing about with this. It's amazing. What could we do with it? How could we use that in our PMO? And that's what I think is a really great PMO person. They're curious, they're passionate about it. They want to learn and explore. They want to bring other people with them. They want to improve their PMO. And I think the other thing, as part of your question, would be that they're also interested in there's different ways of thinking slightly outside the box sometimes. You'll see how things are working in other sides of the business. So, for example, how does HR run a particular project? You think, actually, I didn't know that. We could use that within our PMO. Or what are we doing on the financial year end? Actually, that's a bit of our process is really interesting. How can we incorporate that with our particular process around X or Y? And that's what I think PMO leaders today is needed, is that curiosity, a way to generate new ideas, to bring their teams along with them, and not to be doing the same old, because that's the nightmare we see, is that you work in one particular organization as a PMO manager, you leave that organization, get a new job somewhere else, and you do exactly the same thing again. It happens all the time. It's like, how can you do the exact same things again? This business is different. This one's got different products. It's got a different approach to project management. So why is the PMO manager still just doing, let's just do what we've always done and plonk it down in a different organization? I want our PMO managers to be curious and to be thinking outside the box, because we're going to have to, so yeah.
Yeah, Lindsay, thank you. So be relevant, stay relevant, develop yourself, change. I think that's what I'm taking with this session with me, with you, Lindsay and Gaurang. It was great to hear you, to take away your experience and your recommendations. And guys, if you have a last word to say to our audience, then it's now a good moment. We have 2 minutes left for our audience. I say thank you, guys, that you was in here and followed our fishbowl session. Lindsay, Gaurang, do you have to say something to our audience?
One last thing I have to say. Basically, now since we are dealing with humans more, and with a lot of culture shift and things happening, the PMO leaders need to have empathy more rather than sympathizing things, right? They'll have to have empathy more. That's one which I feel is really going to help them ahead in their roadmap. Second is they, like Lindsay said, they'll have to be more creative. They'll have to be more innovative. Let's not keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Because the situations are different, the areas are different. You'll have to use a lot of different strategies and things and think out of the box and move ahead on it. And then the third thing I would say, you can be more influential only when you be more collaborative in your whole organization, right? It's just not that since you are in PMO, you just sit back and be in PMO, or just be with technology or be with only some vertical in your organization. You will have to collaborate across all of the verticals in your organization. and that collaboration is going to be more key, so that then you understand something new, you can bring in something new and say, oh yeah, here is what, as a PMO I can help, and I can put a process around and move ahead. So yeah, that's what last thing which I want.
Thank you.
I've just got 3 C's. So one of them I've already mentioned, which is carry on being curious. The second one is carry on challenging. I think the PMO's role is to challenge project managers, program managers, the business, whoever it might be. We're there to provide a challenge, and also keep connecting. The whole idea of the program is that you've been listening to other PMO practitioners. Let's keep connecting. Let's keep sharing. Let's keep supporting each other, because we know that's where the good ideas come. We've already got them all. The ideas are in everybody's heads. It's just a matter of how do we get them out. And we do that by staying connected and sharing.
So thank you, Lindsay, Gaurang, and see you soon again. Have a good time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.